The Bears on Hemlock Mountain, Alice Dalglish. Chapter 4. Up Hemlock Mountain. When Jonathan was out of sight of the house, his mother began to worry just a little bit about bears on Hemlock Mountain. "Stuff and nonsense," she said to herself. "There are no bears on Hemlock Mountain." But perhaps she went back to her cookie making and tried to forget about it. But she couldn't forget. She found she was cutting out cookies to a kind of a rhythm. There are no bears on Hemlock Mountain. No bears at all. Of course, there are no bears on Hemlock Mountain. No bears, no bears, no bears, no bears at all. Jonathan went up Hemlock Mountain eating a cookie as he went. It was very still on Hemlock Mountain. The only sound was Jonathan's boot going crunch, crunch, crunch on the snow. He could look back and see the big footprint that he made. It was very lonely, so lonely that Jonathan made up words to go with the crunch, crunch of his boot. Strangely enough, they were the same words as his mother's. There are no bears on Hemlock Mountain, no bears at all. Of course, there are no bears on Hemlock Mountain. No bears, no bears, no bears, no bears at all. When he got to the top of Hemlock Mountain, Jonathan was out of breath, so he sat down on a log to rest. And as he rested, he took out of his pocket the nut and the carrot and the bread crumbs. He put them on the snow a little distance from where he was sitting. It was very still and quiet. To keep up his courage, Jonathan said to himself, "There are no bears on Hemlock Mountain, no bears at all. There are no bears on Hemlock Mountain, no bears, no bears, no bears, no bears at all." Then there began to be little sounds all around him, and out of the ooze came rabbits hopping over the snow. They came straight to the carrot Jonathan had brought for them. Out of the ooze came squatters. They looked around with bright eyes and put one paw on their heart the way squatters do. Then they came straight to the nut Jonathan had brought for them. And then came the winter birds hopping and twittering. They came straight to the bread crumbs Jonathan had brought for them. Jonathan sat as still as still. He was not lonely now. And he was not worried about bears. He had lots of company. For quite a long time he sat there watching the rabbits and the squatters and the birds. But time was going on, and the sun was lower in the sky. Jonathan knew he must be on his way, so he got to his feet, and his boot went crunch, crunch, crunch on the snow. All the rabbits went hopping back to the ooze. The squatters looked around with their paws on their hearts. Then whisk! And away up the trees. The birds flew up into the branches. Jonathan was alone.